1622, Angola, West Africa. A Portuguese governor sits behind his desk in his grand colonial office. He has called a meeting with a representative from the neighboring African kingdom. He wants to discuss terms of surrender. He is so arrogant, so absolutely certain of his own superiority, that he has deliberately removed every chair from the room except his own. His plan is simple: make the African representative stand before him like a servant while he sits like a king. He expects a frightened ambassador. He gets a queen. Queen Nzinga of the Mbundu people walks into that room. She looks at the empty floor where a chair should be. She does not flinch. She does not bow. She does not stand. She turns to one of her attendants, and without saying a single word, she gestures. The attendant immediately drops to their hands and knees on the floor, and Queen Nzinga sits on their back, eye level with the Portuguese governor, equal. The governor is speechless. And in that single moment, without drawing a sword, without firing a gun, without raising her voice, Queen Nzinga had already won. Today on Forgotten Empires, we are telling the full story of the most brilliant and most fearless queen in African history. A woman who fought the Portuguese Empire for over 40 years, and never, not once, surrendered. To understand Queen Nzinga, you need to understand the world she was born into. The year is approximately 1583. The place is the Kingdom of Ndongo, in what is today the country of Angola in West Africa. The Mbundu people of Ndongo are one of the most powerful and most sophisticated civilizations in all of Central Africa. They have a complex government, a thriving economy, a proud military tradition, and they have a problem. The Portuguese have been on the West African coast for over 100 years, and they are moving inland, slowly, deliberately, hungrily. They want land, they want resources, they want people to sell into slavery. Into this world of growing danger, Nzinga is born, the daughter of King Angola Kilwanji of Ndongo. From the very beginning, she is different. Her father recognizes her extraordinary intelligence and invites her to sit in on royal court meetings, something completely unheard of for a girl at that time. She absorbs everything: politics, diplomacy, military strategy, languages. By the time she is an adult, Nzinga speaks Portuguese fluently. She understands European politics better than most Europeans. She can negotiate in 3 languages, and she has developed a mind so sharp and so strategic that even her enemies would eventually be forced to admire her. She is not yet a queen, but she is already preparing for a battle that will last the rest of her very long life. In 1622, Nzinga's brother has become king of Ndongo, but the Portuguese are closing in. They have been raiding Ndongo villages, capturing people and selling them into slavery, seizing land and resources. Her brother needs someone brilliant enough to negotiate with the Portuguese governor, João Correia de Sousa. He sends Nzinga, and what happens in that colonial office in Luanda that day becomes one of the most legendary moments in African history. After the chair incident, after sitting on her attendant's back and establishing herself as an equal, Nzinga negotiates, and she negotiates brilliantly. She secures a peace agreement. She agrees to convert to Christianity, taking the baptismal name Ana de Sousa, not because she believes in it, but because she understands that speaking the language of European religion gives her more power in European negotiations. She convinces the Portuguese governor to release all enslaved Ndongo people held by the Portuguese. She secures trade agreements that benefit her kingdom. In a single meeting, she achieves more than her brother's entire court had achieved in years. The Portuguese governor watches her leave and reportedly turns to his aide and says, "That is the most dangerous woman I have ever met." He was right. He just did not yet understand how dangerous. Voiceover. When Nzinga's brother died in 1624, under mysterious circumstances, Nzinga took power. Not quietly, not timidly. She seized the throne with absolute confidence and immediately began transforming her kingdom into a fighting force capable of resisting European colonization. But the Portuguese were not going to accept an African queen standing between them and the resources they wanted. They refused to recognize her as the legitimate ruler of Ndongo. They installed a puppet king, an African man willing to cooperate with Portuguese interests, and used him to justify their continued aggression against her people. Nzinga responded the way she always responded to people who underestimated her. She outthought them. She formed a military alliance with the Mbangala, fierce and feared warrior bands who had terrorized the region for decades. Everyone thought she was crazy. Why would a queen ally herself with people feared by everyone, including her own people? Because Nzinga understood something her critics did not. In war, you do not choose the allies you want. You choose the allies you need. With the Angola warriors fighting alongside her forces, Nzinga became a military power the Portuguese could not simply push aside, and then she did something even more extraordinary. She moved her entire kingdom. When the Portuguese pressure on Ndongo became too great, when they had too many resources and too many soldiers for even Nzinga's brilliant strategy to overcome in direct confrontation, she made a decision that shocked everyone. She did not surrender. She did not negotiate from weakness. She relocated her entire kingdom. In the 1630s, Nzinga conquered the neighboring kingdom of Matamba, turning it into her new base of operations. Matamba was strategically perfect. It was deep in the interior of Angola, far from Portuguese coastal strongholds. It sat directly on the major slave trade routes running through Central Africa. Whoever controlled Matamba controlled the flow of slaves to the Portuguese coast. And Nzinga used that control like a weapon. She began intercepting Portuguese slave caravans, freeing the captives and incorporating the freed men and women into her own army. She offered freedom and sanctuary to any enslaved person who could escape and reach her kingdom. Her army grew, her power grew, and the Portuguese realized they had made a catastrophic mistake. They had pushed Nzinga out of Ndongo thinking they had defeated her. Instead, they had given her the perfect position from which to fight back. For the next 30 years, Nzinga would use Matamba as her fortress, fighting, negotiating, outmaneuvering, never surrendering. What followed was one of the most extraordinary military and diplomatic campaigns in African history. For 40 years, from the 1620s to the 1660s, Queen Nzinga fought the Portuguese Empire, not just with weapons, with her mind. She formed an alliance with the Dutch, who were rivals of Portugal, and used Dutch military support to launch devastating attacks on Portuguese positions along the Angolan coast. In 1647, her forces combined with Dutch allies dealt the Portuguese one of their most humiliating military defeats in Africa. She negotiated, she fought, she retreated when she had to, she attacked when she could, she used Christianity as a diplomatic tool when it helped her, and abandoned it when it did not. She understood European politics so deeply that she played different European powers against each other like pieces on a chessboard, the Dutch against the Portuguese, the Spanish against the Portuguese, even different factions within the Portuguese government against each other. While kings and governors came and went, while European powers rose and fell, Nzinga remained, undefeated, unbowed, unstoppable. By the time she finally negotiated a peace treaty with Portugal in 1657, she was in her 70s. And she negotiated that peace treaty on her own terms, not Portugal's, hers. Queen Nzinga died in 1663. She was approximately 80 years old. She had spent over 40 years fighting the most powerful colonial empire in the world. She had never been captured. She had never surrendered. She had turned a kingdom under siege into a regional power that Portugal was forced to negotiate with as an equal. She had freed thousands of enslaved people and incorporated them into a fighting force that terrified European colonizers. She had outthought, outsmarted, and outlasted every European governor-general and military commander who had ever stood against her. Today in Angola, Queen Nzinga is not just remembered, she is worshipped. There is a statue of her in the capital city of Luanda, standing tall and proud, exactly as she stood in that Portuguese office in 1622. No chair needed, because queens do not need chairs given to them by their enemies. They bring their own. Queen Nzinga was not just the greatest queen in African history. She was one of the greatest leaders, man or woman, that this world has ever produced. And it is time the whole world knew her name. If this story made you proud, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Forgotten Empires, the home of African history's greatest untold stories. Turn on your notification bell so you never miss a story. Next week we are uncovering another African story that will change how you see the world forever. See you there.